Since you guys love to see it, we're doing another Orzhov Martyr of Sands special. This time against Dead Shadow. We've seen the Martyr of Sands deck a few times.
Let's see. Again, both of these players fighting for their tournament lives. Gets to enjoy the rest of the day in the sun. The winner.
Yeah, like to be honest, for
Fights
my free time, I'm hoping that Robert doesn't win, because then we get to see the matchup that we saw before of Elementals versus Martyr.
This is going to be very interesting, though, now.
Both of these players have played Marcus already, right? So Daniel has played him in the first round. We saw it on screen as well, with a decisive victory for Marcus. And of course, we saw the Martyr matchup a bit
much closer, but still Marcus was able to find the winning lines. Yeah. No Ragavan on turn 1. This changes things probably. I don't think Dragon's Rage Channeler is that threatening for Robert.
Daniel should have a threat up anyway. We don't have life counters on screen.
That is true. I will go adjust this right now, because life is very important for both.
Yeah, for both. Unfortunately with the glare, I'm thinking it's 3 lands in Robert's hand. 2 Marches, Ranger Captain, and the Sarah Paragon. And takes the Ranger Captain as the double body. Yeah, so what you've missed. Thoughtseizes has resolved, revealing Robert's hand with 3 planes, 2 Marches, a Sarah Paragon, and a Ranger Captain getting discarded, which is, in my opinion, a valid choice, seeing that it brings an extra body and stops Breach.
Yes, you basically get 2 cards for the price of 1 Thoughtseizes. The other choices would be taking the March, so you can ensure your Dragon's Rage Channeler survives for longer, but I don't think that's the game plan.
Yeah, but he has already 1 March, so he has to wait through a lot of marching.
Yeah. But I think Daniel is aware that the 1 Dragon's Rage Channeler will not go the distance. The fact that Daniel is running a list with no Drown in the Lock.
Yeah, see, also Robert playing around Spell Pierce, right? Holding it, waiting for Daniel to crack his fetch to get the blue source.
That's true.
And then firing off the march. As we said it before, Robert, the ultimate master of playing around everything.
Very heads up play from Robert.
Yeah, this is not with open deck list, so he doesn't know that Daniel is not playing any counter interaction.
Is this a turn 2 iteration?
No, turn 3.
No, turn 3. Daniel finds the 1-drop. Pretty quick decision.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see.
Did he find the 1-drop? He found the land.
The land drop, yes. Let's see if he deploys a threat now, or if he waits to have...
and Robert has our... he plays a Dead Shadow into the marsh that he knows is there. And the top deck Solitude. Yeah, so now the question is, how greedy does...
No, I don't think you can realistically expect Daniel to play a second Shadow or a second creature, right? There's just no way.
Yeah, well, Robot can play it easy. We see everyone's fan favorite Traven Inspector in the hand. We know he has an extra March, so he can also go Traven Inspector March to get rid of the Shadow.
Letting Daniel untap gives him a small chance of dress downing the Solitude.
Indeed. But we saw, here's also, we know Robert, right? He's probably gonna block. If you're gonna exile the Shadow, why do it in your opponent's open mana, right? Because he already before indicated.
That's true.
That
I think he's trying to get some counters out of his hand, right?
Yeah, probably for the Solitude or Sarah Paragon. That's.
Well, with this Thoughtseize...
Yeah, well, here you...
Robert really doesn't have much going on.
No.
He takes the Solitude.
Does he have a removal spell for the Paragon, is the question.
He must be, right? Because otherwise it's the card that puts him even further back. Oh no. The myth, the legend. And again,
the sack boy.
The question is, why not sacrifice... I understand. Robert now has the choice of sacrificing the clue to look for a fourth land
Oh,
drop.
dress downing the
Dress down.
counter.
This just clears the way for the attack. And now I think the choice is clear. Okay, Robert naturally has...
Yeah, he already had the
fourth
land.
Yes, that's true. That's true. That's correct. If the dress down wouldn't have happened, then you would have the choice of sacking the clue or responding to a removal and sacrificing the creature. Like if he goes for the counter on the Fraben Inspector. Again, Fraben Inspector, a legend.
Yeah.
If he would have gotten the counter on it as well, it would have represented a 3-turn clock.
Yes.
Must answer.
Yeah, but I can only imagine Robot now just cashing in the clue, cashing in the Berserker.
Can you still cash in the Berserker? You
Yeah,
can,
it has
you
the
can. Its
the
own
ability.
ability.
It just gives the backup counter to somebody else and gives it the
yes,
second
the same
one.
ability. It couldn't. He cannot cash
Or he
in
wants
the
to,
Inspector.
like he's probably just keeping it around now to prevent a Ragavan dash.
That's true. A body is relevant even with 0 power.
And what's better than block, sack, draw card?
Sakura Tribalder would agree.
You said it before, the Mock Fanatic. That used to be a staple
It
when
used
damage
to
on the
be.
stack was still a thing.
It used to be, yes.
Thinking a bit longer and harder about this iteration.
I think the fact that he's on 6 life
Yeah, it's actually
makes it
Robert
a
is
bit
getting the squeeze on.
difficult. So we know Robert's last card in hand is a 4-mana 3/4 flyer, which surprisingly is a relevant threat now.
Yeah. Can you imagine the Dead Shadow deck losing to the Squadron Hawk beat down after fetching himself down to...
Realistically, I think
it's
it's
actually-
one of the bigger threats. Daniel won't lose to a 4-mana beater. He will always trade profitably 1 removal spell for it. It has to
Yes.
be. But 4 1/1s sound more or less like a nightmare.
There it is, the Abiding Grace. No blue mana open. And the Cameo False Hope. Oh, this deck is so much pain. Yeah, I think... like, that's the thing with Death Shadow, right? Like, you're so mana efficient, but other decks have such a great chance of going over you.
Yes.
Especially when you can't put on early pressure. When you can't get that life low and then your Underworld Breach, Lightning Bolt, reach. Because it's not really realistic to deal more than 12 damage, right?
Yes.
With a Breach combo.
He did have a Shadow. He did have a Dress Down. But
Now he's also never gonna get any combo damage through anymore with the Kami. Doesn't have any
ways to exile, right?
bolt
Bolt on the Fraben Inspector in response to the
backup token.
backup. Because I think it targets, yes. So
It
he
is
takes some
truly
pressure
desperate
off.
time.
That Bolt, I think, is his last win condition. He just needs to fill in the graveyard
And get enough lands.
and get enough lands, because the Kami only prevents
Combat damage.
combat damage. That being said, the enchantment also slowly creeps Robert's life total up.
Yeah, but we know Robot, right? He's never gonna be like, oh yeah, I need to get more life. He's always gonna be more cards. Because you have the Martyr of Sands that can gain you
If you ever hit it,
an astronomical amount of life if you draw it off the...
Robert is aware, checking how stacked Daniel's graveyard is.
Mm-hmm.
Given the mana, he can only cast two lightning bolts, because he needs to pay 2 for the breach, 2 for the bolts. With a land drop, realistically that's 3, but this would cost him life.
Yes. Ah, but he has the Fable, right? He can generate some more value.
He can generate, yes. A Fable would stop the bleeding, at least, looking at the mighty 1 power attack from the Kami.
It is actually relevant, right? Like, this Kami is actually threatening... Like, it is a real clock.
This is why the lightning bolt on the Fraben Inspector was so important.
Yeah. And there's the Hawk.
I think this is over.
Yeah, I don't realistically see how Daniel is gonna come back from this.
He
format.
already used the dress down. He's only running one copy of it main. It would have been one.
And he spent 3
answer
mana
to the
just
Hawk.
to take Giganta on hand, right?
Yes.
Like it's
But Robert doesn't go for the Hawk yet.
maybe he doesn't want to show the Hawk.
Again, the Serra Paragon was always going to be tempo negative.
Mm-hmm.
A 4 mana card against all the cheap removal in Death Shadow.
Yeah, but he
it
got
did
the Draven
Bring
Inspector,
back the Inspector.
which is, as we know, the most valuable card.
And
In
look
this
at
matchup.
that. 2 lethal attackers already.
No, the Draven Inspector has the
Has the
Serra
counter
Paragon.
from Serra Paragon. Okay.
The remove
But
it.
one fetch land makes it lethal as well. Are we going to see Idyllic Range
Idyllic Range is already played.
lethal? It's already played.
Yeah, that was the first counter on the. That's the land all on the bottom there. Declare.
Really? It wasn't the... okay, I see. I thought it was another training counter. Okay. A 3/3 blocker.
That's
holding
not a
the
blocker
fort.
anymore next turn.
It's not the blocker, that's true. It only keeps Daniel alive for 1 turn. Robert cycles the body end of turn.
There's a Solitude.
He's ready to bring it back. Then
The
there is the
birds.
Hawk. Robert decided against the risk of
Holding-
withholding information. But again, like, what's he gonna do? Daniel has to milk that dress down so hard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I think Daniel is now realizing that, I don't have this many red sources in my deck.
he would need 6 lightning bolts.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe he was relying on the Dragon's Rage channeler connecting once. To
Yeah,
get
he at the
free
moment
damage
only
in.
has 5 red sources.
Yes.
He can't chuck in another one.
Yes. So he needed the free damage somehow squeezing in from the Dragon's Rage channeler. But now with the Kami and double flying blocker, I think it's over. And somewhere in the middle of his turn, Robert sneaked in an Emeria the Sky Ruin
Yes.
into play. So
Well, not really sneaked in. He just played it as a land for
played
some.
as a yeah.
Yeah,
It's
this is
not-
gonna get a Serra Paragon back, and it's just gonna
And
be.
basically everything is over for Daniel. Robert can also recur Ranger Captains
Oh yeah, to stop the.
to stop
yeah.
the Underworld Breach shenanigans. So whenever you see Breach being cast, you just sacrifice it to its own ability and stop Daniel from casting
Yes.
any non-creature spells, basically fizzling the Underworld Breach.
We see some nice nose in the screen. I think Daniel already knows that he's
Yeah,
lost.
he is
Giganta.
going for it. He's going for it.
Everyone's favorite mechanic. At least it's the original printing, not some
Not some
crazy.
fancy schmancy. Yeah. 1 Hawk is dead. So this isn't lethal again without Idyllic Range.
It is lethal. You
Is
can
it?
attack with everything. Like
That's true. That's true.
you can only
It
block
looks
the
lethal.
card.
You can only block 1 creature.
But this is Robert playing, right? He is going to play around the possibility of a removal spell.
And Ranger Captain is that play. He can now sacrifice it
Yes.
and
Prevent him from playing a removal spell.
yeah, of course he can respond,
Mm-hmm.
making it not lethal, but then that's just a 1-for-1. Or that he can make the Squadron Hawk also
Lethal, yeah.
lethal on its own.
Poop. There goes the hawk.
Which gets sacrificed, yes, right?
Yes.
Because
yeah,
it gets
because
the
it
one
has
that gets
the ability
abilities.
until end of turn.
Wow,
So actually, great
Yes.
value play.
a lot of value, and you had to do it this way, right? Because otherwise, if you let him attack, if you respond to the counter, no, it
No,
would have been-
Giganta could have blocked. So
yeah, it would have been better. It would have
Yeah,
been
but
better.
it's also like long day, right? And I don't think it matters anymore at this point.
I think this is one of the strengths of the Martyr life deck. The deck just gets better and better the later you are in the tournament, Because
Because
people
you know
will-
how to play your deck and your
you
opponent
do,
doesn't know.
and your opponents are more and more tired, and their ability to adapt to such a weird strategy that goes long
Yeah, because
is probably limited in
the
round
longer
let's
a tournament
6 or
goes,
7
the
of a
more
tournament.
you're...
Yeah. The issue is you'll never make it there because you'll still be playing
Because you'll
round
be
2 or
playing-
something. Yeah,
Because you'll be in the 0-0-4 bracket. Or you run into Marcus and lose to Elementals. I must say, I do admire Daniel's mental fortitude, that he's still trying to claw his way back up.
I think it's denial. You know, he's not Daniel, it's denial.
Oh yeah.
I can't be losing to Kamiya, False Hope, and Squadron Hawk with my Death Shadows deck. It's just not
Stage
possible.
1 of grief. Denial. Oh. Oh,
This
God.
is the greatest
This is-
decision he needs to make this turn.
I can't watch this anymore. Oh. Oh. Oh.
There
Don't you
it
get
is.
it?
But at least now he's aware that Robert knows about the play.
Yeah, all information is valuable, right?
How many DRCs can he play? Can he make enough blockers? I see 1.
Yeah, I think that this build that Daniel is playing has a very weird mix of, like, you want to be like a fast early game deck, you want to play super efficient disruption, and then he plays Fables of the Mirror Breaker instead.
Yeah.
So you go all into the reachy breach part of the deck.
Yeah.
And like your reach doesn't really matter when your opponent can gain 12 life off a 1-drop.
Yeah. You're not running main deck counter spells anymore.
No, you don't have shredders, you don't have counter spells, like you can't fish for your, like you don't put as much pressure on the board early, and
you drift into the mid-range territory, which Martyr Life and also the Keruga deck just prey on. But
Like,
it does give him a much better matchup against the aggressive strategies, and this is why we're here. He managed to beat Phil
the hammer player
on Hammer as well, and
Rhinos?
Kubi on Zoo.
Oh, Zoo and Hammer.
So the list was good against his expected field of creature-based.
Yeah, and I also think
matchups.
that he expected a robot to play Titan, seeing that he has the Colligan's commands, the main deck terminate,
and the 2 Blood Moons in the sideboard.
Blood
That's
Moons,
true. That is true.
So I think
The meta
Robert
call
is-
from Robert was amazing.
yes.
It pays off to be a renowned player known for one specific deck.
Well, he was mostly known for Belcher, right? And then also played Titan.
True.
And
He has a
Like-
few challenge top 8s on Emeria as well.
we've seen him play weird ass decks in the past, right? Like he puts in great results at the tournaments here. So he's often in these top 8 events, and we've seen him play. Like, have you ever seen him play his signature decks in these events?
What else is he playing except for these? He was on Titan. He was on. I played against him once on Belcher for sure.
Yeah, like he's known for playing Belcher and Titan a lot, right?
Yeah, he's mainly a combo player, and
Yeah, so
the squadron flies alone.
the eagle has landed on the 2 life points.
Okay, but it's not hopeless for Daniel.
No, it's not. But
He does have just one copy of Turok in the
yeah, the
sideboard.
Turok is gonna.
It's not incredible as it puts the cards into the graveyard from which they can be
But he
recurred.
also has an unlicensed hearse. Like it's I like how he's like, yeah, I don't think anyone's gonna play a graveyard centric deck, but I am going to bring in play the 1 hearse.
It's never terrible. It doubles down as a threat. Works against these small.
Yeah, of course. Toby is
Yeah.
also known for playing Murktide, which
which
hearse is great against Murktide.
slightly hurt by hers. Now,
Well, not slightly.
my-
Like I think hers is great against Murktide. Like it's a late game threat, and it eats away the delirium.
It's the
and
delirium. Yeah, it's only bad once they already have a Murktide out, which. Yeah. Now, my question to you is:
Spell Pierce or no Spell Pierce?
Blood Moon.
Nah.
Nah?
You want the game to be done way sooner than
Way sooner
Emilia.
than that, yeah.
And like, are you gonna bring in Blood Moon just to? He doesn't play any basic swamps, right?
Yes, so it would turn off the black spells,
Yeah.
which we know Robert is going to be bringing in from the sideboard.
Yes.
It turns off the Emeria.
Yeah,
And
the
I
idyllic
think
ranges.
Yes, and I think it does make
And
his mana a bit shaky. And then he's just going to have to face off against 1/2s, 3/3s, and things like that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, like, do you bring in the spell piercers? Because Robot is known for playing around everything, right?
Let's see. Players are drawing their starting hands for game 2. Daniel is going to be on the play. He's thinking about it, so that's a bad sign. Although, turn 1 is usually one of the most difficult turns for Shadow. When you need to...
Yeah, do you want to go control? Do you want to go aggro? Do you...
You need to mesh Bauble versus fetching versus playing the 1-drop or the Thoughtseize.
Yeah, Bubble also got so much worse without Shatter, right? Like, I mean, it's still great with the Channeler, but...
True. But what would a Shredder have mattered that much in this matchup? Maybe.
Ooh, Solitude on top.
So Daniel decides not to play a 1-drop. I don't know if he had it or not, but...
I probably didn't have it since he let on Bubble look at my own card, right?
Yeah.
See, the idyllic range is already out? Or is that the Mistfield Plains? No, it's the Mistfield Plains.
It's the plains, yeah. Double Solitude, another removal, 2 lands and 2 of the 1-drops. The land is a Windswept Thief, at least for sure. So
Yes.
Robert is going to get black mana.
It also feels so awkward to take the 1-drops against this deck. Like, of course, as Daniel, you need to get your own Ragavans and Dragon's Rage Challenge through, but it feels so awful. But I'm guessing it's going to be Solitude or March anyway.
It has to be. I mean, if Robert's hand was very clunky, with maybe one 1-drop,
Yeah.
you could consider taking it, like the black creature or the Thraben Inspector or something. I think the other cheap creature you want to interact with is Squadron Hawk. You would take it for sure.
Yeah, so he doesn't get the value of the free Solitude pitches.
Yes. Just imagine. And Squadron Hawk also pitches to March if you ever need it.
Yeah, to
So
up the mana cost. Yeah, so the March is out.
basically those are three Solitudes in Robert's hand, if you think about it. Now we get to see the lands as well. Draws a Godless Shrine.
Yeah, you also see Robot keeping the... waiting and playing the 1-drop.
Until he
So-
has 1 mana up to sacrifice
Yeah.
it, yes.
Always going for the value, not letting...
I think, anyway, you don't even want to
the
attack...
Martyr in the hand. Oh.
The Martyr. You don't even want to attack Daniel as much. So prior to him going below
when he-
13 life, you don't even want to
He
touch
did bring in the
He
Blood
did.
Moon.
I
Oh
told
my
you,
god.
look at this.
Oh, he's so punished. He has the Windswept Heat in hand.
I
Of
think
course,
he just
the
drew,
one basic
Did
thing.
he draw the planes?
Yeah, I think he
I
did.
think he drew the planes, yes.
Yeah, it's top decks.
Because he had the Godless Shrine and the
And
Windswept Heath in hand.
Yeah, Daniel doesn't have access to blue, but it's not such a major part
Not
of his
such
deck. It's
in
only
this
the
list,
iterations, basically.
Wow, that planes top deck was insane.
Mm-hmm. And now Daniel's thinking like, oh, why did I do this?
I didn't see those 2 cards when I thought these 2 turns ago.
Yeah.
It's always like this.
And he's just taking Giganta in hand. That's a
Keeping
bad
up
sign.
Red. Robert doesn't have a lot though.
Bolting on upkeep to get him to spend the
get
mana.
1 mana to spend, yeah. But he has so much useless red mana that at this point still important to make the clean optimal play. There's the basic island
plains.
and the Giganta. This turn could not have went any better.
And no, Robert will just top deck the second plains and hardcast Solitude. Abiding Grace.
It's the Abiding Grace. Right after sacrificing the Martyr. So this is infinite blockers now. And I don't think Daniel has ways to interact with the enchantment.
I don't think so either. Like,
all
blue, black, and red are notoriously bad at dealing with enchantments.
These cards were all not, with the exception of the creature, not in Robert's hand when Daniel checked with the Thoughtseize.
Yes.
So the
Like, I
Plains,
would've-
the Martyr, and the Grace.
I would have definitely taken the Grace as well, since it's such a pain
Yeah.
in the ass to actually...
He took a March, which was able to interact with the Blood Moon otherwise.
yes.
Probably this should have keyed us in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's such a hard couple of top decks, right? And
Daniel
I
has
know
a
there's
hearse. Daniel has a hearse. Has a hearse in hand. He was trying to make Robert sacrifice the creature as a chump blocker. He's checking again.
probably taking the Ranger Captain, right?
I guess because it's the one card that can replace itself
Yeah.
to provide another card for Solitude. Although at some point you want to get rid of all the Solitudes. And this is, I think, an interesting decision and something that makes, that separates the real Shadow players from the casuals.
Yeah, I am notoriously casual at playing Shadow.
You
Never
can see.
managed to make any kind of...
Right now, Daniel's Hearse is going to exile the 2 1-drops that the enchantment can bring back. So there's no value in taking the 3rd 1-drop. This is clear. Then the decision between Ranger and Solitude. Ranger cannot... well, he already has the 2nd Plains, right? Yes.
Yeah, the 2nd plane is already in hand, so the Ranger Captain is able to find something.
I think Daniel just doesn't care so much about the 1-drop, because they can all be dealt with more or less with the Hearse.
Yes.
Giganta had its time in the sun.
Mm-hmm.
Conveniently puts Daniel out of Death Shadow casting range. And Hearse exiles both 1-cost targets. The good part is that Hearse is a threat.
Yes.
It can
It
grow.
can actually grow pretty
It
large.
can go pretty large. Robert does gain a ton of life, so it's probably not feasible to see it one shot.
Ragavan trading for the Solitude. Knowing this is probably the last turn it's going to get in with the Ranger Captain.
From card disadvantage, instead of 2-for-1ing yourself, it 2-for-1 the opponent.
The
Oh
burbs.
my god. Robert knows that he can't rely on the graveyard and on the Abiding Grace anymore, so
Yeah, Binding Grace still gains him a life every turn, right? So
that's true. And Hearse only grows by 2 and is limited.
yeah, will we see Daniel at one point exiling his own cards?
Oh, they are important for the Underworld Breach.
Yeah.
I would say.
And now he
never.
actually has enough mountains.
Yes, that's true. It was all part of the plan. He knew he needed a ton of bolts,
Yes.
so that's
So
why
Blood
he
Moon,
brought in the
He
Blood
did
Moon.
not bring in Blood Moon to mess with Robert's mana base. He brought in the Blood Moons to
That's true.
facilitate the bolting.
Big brains. This is what you need to make top 4 of this tournament.
Yes.
Big, massive
And here
brains.
we see a mana sink for all the red mana.
Oh my god. Robert came prepared. I'm sure this is...
Also, Robert attacking in such a way that Daniel is at 13 life, no opportunity to cast the shadow,
yes.
no way to reduce his life total with fetch lands or shock lands, seeing that he has a Blood Moon in play.
Another card draw spell that Robert just doesn't care about. I think at this point, what could happen? Like a Turok? A Turok could... No, with
No,
the
there's a
ballista,
ballista in
with
play,
the
so
ballista
it's
on
like
the
even a
board,
Turok
it
is
doesn't even do
Plus,
it.
how is he going to cast a Turok with 1 black mana? Like, he's just going to be
Right.
a 2-1.
Just a 2-1. That's true. That's true. What a disaster.
Yeah. It feels a bit like Daniel is shooting himself in the foot with Blood Moon.
I
Yeah,
wonder how deep the discussions go on the Martyr Discord about Blood Moon effects. because at least to me, it feels very polarizing. It could work, but
Yeah,
it could
but,
also be the worst card, like almost
Robert
briefing.
plays fetch lands, right? Like, just...
Yeah, if you know about it. I think Daniel probably had the perfect setup for it, where Robert went
Yeah.
non-basic into non-basic.
But Robert, I'm guessing he plays like 10 islands, 10 planes. How many does he play? 7. Which is still reasonable to draw into.
Yeah, to draw into 1, I think.
Especially seeing how much drawing.
Yeah.
When in the draw spells he has Squadron Hawks thinning. Ooh, there's the baby Turok. Walking Ballista will make short work of that.
We mentioned it in round 1 as well, that Bloodmoon and Turok don't gel together. Walking Ballista is a card that Daniel is very familiar with, since he's the resident Hardened Scales expert, and look how the tables have turned now.
Yeah.
We see the Burnt and Fortender as well on the bottom of Robert's deck. So he also boarded this in. He could fetch it. It would represent extra protection for the Ballista.
Yeah.
While it keeps sticking up.
Like it... Yeah, at this point, like, see, he's removing his own graveyard.
How much power does Hearse crew for? 2 or 3? 2. He could have realistically crewed the Hearse in response.
With the Turok, yeah. But then you open your Hearse up to be Solitude.
Yeah, that's true. But at this point, yeah, I guess.
Yeah, like that. See, at this point, I don't really have high hopes for Daniel anymore. Like, he screwed over his own mana base harder than he screwed over his opponent's mana base.
It has to be a huge Underworld Breach turn. There is nothing else.
He can't even do like, oh yeah, I'm gonna dump 3 shadows and make you respect that I have Dress Down, because he only has 1 black mana. Yeah, I'm not hopeful. I think we might be casting.
Yes, Robert just drew the winds. The winds
of winter.
He cannot go around Spell Pierce with it, so he's just choosing to get into combat, and that's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Daniel, respectable 3rd place after his win in the previous edition in the winter playoffs.
Yes. Yeah, all I can say is that's a good meta call by Robert.
Yeah. Let's see if it pans out.
In the rematch
of
the Karuga.
We timed it at under 1 hour.
Alright, so Robert with his black-white Martyr deck took down the loser's bracket and will now play against me in the finals. Thanks everybody for watching, and make sure to like and subscribe so you see the last final match with me versus Robert again. Rematch in the finals, and yeah,